Hey man, happy Thursday, everybody. It is Dukes and Bell. We're live today at 2 on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. This is our Behind the Curtain show. You can access it via Twitch, YouTube, Insta Live, all of our social media platforms. And we appreciate you guys hanging out and being with us. Mike and I and Day Day, the show got into an interesting conversation yesterday. And we actually put up a poll question that is still up. You still have a chance to go vote about Michael Penix. We literally were just talking about the poll numbers, Mike, before we came on. And I don't know if it's ironic or not, or if it's what we expected with this particular poll question.
Yeah, asking, do you believe that Michael Penix Jr. will be a successful starting quarterback? In other words, he will establish himself as a starting quarterback in the league. And right now, Day-Day's, last time I looked, it was 50-50, over 1,000 votes. And we got a few more hours to vote. We'll be on the air at 2. But it just kind of shows you, I think, and you and I kind of stumbled into it yesterday, Carl, that the injury thing and the fact that, you have the two injuries on two ACLs and now another ACL on the other knee. And a lot of folks saying, man, it's just going to be hard to see how he'll stay healthy, and really be able to do the things that we want him to do. And that's where I think some of the if you want to say the negativity is coming from.
Yeah, look, every quarterback, most are healthy when they start their career. He's behind the 8 ball. But most have a shelf life, right? Where you're going to get a guy for 8 to 10 years, you're hoping, fingers crossed. But usually when guys go to bad franchises, they get beat up their first few years. It cuts down on the back end of their tenure, right? The back end of their career is usually not what you think it is because they've been so beat up. For Penix, he's been fairly protected. And this injury, guys, remember, it was kind of a fluke. He went down, Mike, at the game, and I'm like, he's hurt? And then he leaves, and then all of a sudden we find out after the game, Day that, he's got this ACL. I only say that to say the only thing I'm not worried about him coming back. I think he'll play. I don't know at what level. I need to see Kevin Stefanski and Tommy, Reese do their thing. And Alex, too, Alex Van Pelt. But I am more concerned about what is his shelf life? What is the long-term viability? Not so much next season, which everybody's freaking out about, because I think that's going to take care of itself. But, Mike, if you told me when we drafted him that you thought he'd be here 8 years, long time, guys.
Right.
Is it now 5?
Well,
is it now 5?
I think when you draft a guy in the first round, that's always the hope that you found your franchise quarterback. I mean, the Dolphins thought they had their guy with Tua. They're going to have to reset now, it looks like. The Jets have been looking for a quarterback since Joe Namath. But yeah, with us, I'd say, I think it's up in the air because remember, guys, even though Matt is a Falcon and he's here in Atlanta, he's not married to Michael Penix Jr. and certainly nor is Ian Cunningham Jr. And Ian Cunningham Jr. Ian Cunningham and the Bears organization, they had Caleb Williams, so they weren't even thinking about Michael Penix Jr. But I'd be curious to think what they thought about him going into that draft class because would they said that's a non-starter because of the injury history, for instance.
Yeah. Day, you surprised at these poll numbers, by the way? And again, go vote. It's at Dukes and Bell 929 on X, on Twitter, guys. And you can go check it out and let us know what you think. And by the way, everybody that voted no, it's not me telling you that you're being negative. I think that might have been something that came off from yesterday's conversation. I'm just more surprised at how many people are non-believers than there are believers that he can get back and be the guy that we think he can be. Day, you surprised at all?
No, and I'm not surprised because of the injury history. I think a lot of people, look, if we're honest, a lot of people were hesitant. A lot of Falcons fans, I'll say, were hesitant about the fact that the Falcons drafted him, and he already coming into the league, coming off a couple of surgeries. So I'm not really surprised. I think the issue is that even probably with some of the no's, I don't think it's a issue of him not being talented enough. I think it's just solely based on the fact that you just don't know how he's going to come back, from this procedure, and what kind of impact it will have on, his mobility. What's he going to be able to really do in this system? How much moving around is going to be required from this new system, and is he going to be able to really live up to the task of all of that? And honestly, my biggest concern is just the timeline of I just don't want him rushed back. I understand the win now mindset. I understand that if he's the quarterback of the future, we need him back as soon as possible. But when I look at these type of injuries, especially when you're coming off your third, my mindset goes to, do we really have to rush him back? I know we want to get to the playoffs. I know we're tired. But if he is our quarterback of the future, knocking down lights in the basement, then shouldn't we have a little more caution about how quickly we get him back, into this offense and make sure that he is 100% ready to go? So
Ugh.
that's my only, that's kind of where I teeter.
You're so patient, Day. So patient, Carl. No, I mean, I just think you can't go 9 years without going to the playoffs. And I think
I agree.
this is where the gap thing goes. Who is going to be our quarterback? I mean, I've said Flacco just because there's a proven track record between Stefanski and Flacco. He's relatively inexpensive by today's NFL standards, and he doesn't have an ego to bruise like Kirk Cousins, where I'm not going to be take a back seat once Penix Jr. is ready. But it's not sexy, and I don't know if it'd be effective. At age 41, we just assume that Flacco can keep on, rolling the dice and coming up, 6s and 8s for us if we're playing craps, Carl. But I don't know. What is your realization about this team? A few weeks ago, you were saying, after the Pierce Jr. thing, you were kind of down on it. And I've seen both sides to it. I mean, I've seen a lot of folks say, look, even though we've been close to winning this division the last few years and bad coaching decisions and execution have killed us, some guys do feel out there that we are not just one quarterback away from making the playoffs.
Isn't that crazy though, Mike?
Right. I don't agree with it. I mean, I understand.
No.
Is coming back. What's the wide receiver room going to look like? There are some questions on this roster right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying we as a fan base just 2 short years ago were all saying we're a quarterback away.
Right.
It's what we all thought. It's why when they signed Kirk Cousins, we all went, this is a good decision. Hey, you got a veteran guy that can come in and win for you. This is great. Not knowing the Penix thing was going to play out, but I think we got short memories. 2 seasons ago, we were literally like, man, this team has what it needs to win. We need a quarterback. Atlanta needs a quarterback. That was the offseason narrative. And they went and allegedly got one. And we didn't know how this was going to work. But that's funny now if you go, well, you know what? We need more than a quarterback. So we've gone from we need just a quarterback to get over the hump to we need a lot more than just a quarterback. I don't know, man. I am mixed. There are days I wake up, Mike, as a Falcon fan and go, this thing ain't going nowhere. And then there are days I wake up and I look at it and I go, man, there's so many reasons to be excited. So I'm in flux right now. I'm not going to sit here in front and tell you like I'm all in on the playoffs because if this thing starts off bad, regardless if Penix plays or not, or if it's Flacco or whoever the hell they're going to bring in, I think we're going to be in for another long year, man. I really do. And I say that. I honestly believe if you're going to get this fan base excited, we literally have to start like 4-1, 5-1, Mike. Seriously.
Right.
If we are below 500 through the first 5 games, most Falcon fans are going to be like, here we go again. And by the way, our schedule is killer if you've not looked at it.
It's a rough schedule, man. Again, last year we had kind of a gauntlet where we said, look, I think it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And because we may transition from a gap quarterback to Penix Jr. So that's the thing. We're assuming that. Penix, again, we're not orthopedists, Carl. He may be on schedule. He may be behind schedule. The injury happened in November. Does that mean he'll be good to go by October? That's.
But Mike, you say it's how you finish. We finished 4-0 last year. We still didn't get to the playoffs,
right? Because we dug too much of a hole in that 5-game losing streak where we had special team screw ups and didn't have a kicker and we didn't have a on the field.
You cannot blow those games. That's the point.
Here's the thing. But for guys that were really lukewarm about Stefanski because this last few years at Cleveland, bad organization. I got to feel that Stefanski and his staff, if we can be in the same position we were in last year, won't make those mistakes. Raheem never got a handle on special teams. There were issues there that, remember, Cadell Hodge goes from a Pro Bowler to being benched. You know what I mean? Just strange stuff was going down in this building. And I like to think, for lack of a better word, we have adults that'll have a better handle on it.
I'm with you. Yeah. Hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell today. Go ahead, Dada. You want to add something? Go for it.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out. We got a lot of people, commenting and asking some questions. Big shouts out to Jay Rich. He says, I want Penix to be successful, but honestly, I do not know what to think. New system, coming off another injury, maybe the O-line question marks. And then also big shouts out to Homegrown Kicks. He's asking you guys, what position should we attack in the draft first, wide receiver, DB, or line, offensive line, or defensive line. So many needs, to your point, Carl.
Take it right now. This is where I'm at, and I'm starting my deep dive. I'm about, I'm real early in this, but once I get into March, I really start to dive in. I will tell you guys, and I'm talking about specific players and then information out of the combine, people talking around the league. We'll give you more. But if you ask me right now, that's solely depending on if the best defensive tackle is available when we pick, you take him. If it's the best corner that's available when we pick, you take him. If the best wide receiver is available at 48, we take him. it's not solely on need or position. It's if this guy is on the board higher than the others at those other positions, that was what would dictate, Mike, for me to take that particular player right now. Now, we're going to get to a point getting close to the draft, as we always do, where we go, can't miss. Right. This is the guy that's killed it. Go look at his numbers. Go look at what he's done. He crushed it in his pro day. Everybody's talking about him. If we got a chance to get person X, then we should get him. But right now, I don't think we're there. I don't know if that person is a guy that the Falcons necessarily have identified yet.
And I wonder what we're going to do with free agency. We don't have all the money in the world, but I was reading Greg Cosell, good talent evaluator you see from NFL, and he was saying this is not a great draft for wide receivers. So there's basically an upper tier, and then zoom, and then you're basically just throwing darts. So we need some help. Carl and I, if you missed the show earlier in the week, where were you? We were talking about if you cut Darnell Mooney, who's been inconsistent, and you save some cap space, who's playing wide receiver? Because it's Drake London and a bunch of guys that have played 4 or 5 games tops. And we said it. We've got a bunch of guys from the practice squad that we all have hopes for. They're not NFL players, man. They just aren't.
I'm going to disagree, and I know Cosell's done it for 50 years. This is a deep wide receiver draft between rounds 1 and 3, which is why I say you've got to take one in second or third round. You get into the later rounds, there's certainly a drop-off. But, Mike, I'm telling you off the top of my head, 10 dudes, and everybody's not taking a wide receiver. So there will be guys available. There are 10 guys that I think are have the potential to be number ones in this league, and they're all not all of them. There's one small dude, it's 5'9", but most of them are 6 foot and over and bigger guys. That's the other thing. That trend to bigger wide receivers, I think you'll see that in this particular draft. Right. But we'll see, man. Look, this is where our scouting department comes in, Day. Know, we gotta see what this new scouting department. There have been some guys that have been here, but they've been promoted, etc. We gotta see what they look like, man. What that's gonna look like. Real quick, I want to mention Brian Oliver, Hawks. He's gonna join us as he does the games for FanDuel, and we'll ask him about the Kuminga stuff, and we'll get into maybe some Georgia Tech conversation. Obviously, a legendary Georgia Tech player. And Mike Griffith from Dog Nation is going to join us as well, guys, to talk some dogs. Speaking of dogs, Mike, real quick. Everybody loving on Kirby and the Dogs, man. And I say this, doesn't matter what general manager is at the podium, okay, up at the combine. You're seeing, and if you're not, we're telling you, people are asking questions about Georgia players, and the response is not unanimous. They're ready when they come to the NFL, and they have been prepared the right way. And, Mike, I think it's just a hell of a compliment for Kirby Smart.
Right. And I was joking around with you guys on our text line today. I said, what does the NFL preparatory trophy look like? In other words, you're the best school to prepare guys for the NFL because, and we'll talk to Mike Griffith today from Dog Nation. We always argue about, hey, man, no excuses. If you're in the playoffs, man, you got to win the championship. But how does Kirby win a championship in now the strict pay-to-play era? Right, that we are now in where the Big Ten is dominating because they're keeping guys around and making the right moves, bringing guys in. But, yeah, Kirby, just like with Nick Saban at Alabama, the same things that were said about Nick Saban are now being said about Kirby in Georgia. Yeah. The attitude, the ethos, the vibe. We talked about interviewing Jalen Walker. I mean, Jalen Walker, you'd have thought we just talked to the CEO of Georgia Pacific or Delta, the first time we interviewed him. I mean, that's how impressive these guys are, and the work ethic comes with it.
Yeah, it's a hell of a compliment, man. We'll talk more about that today because, look, the big picture is this. There are very few coaches who can truly make the jump to the NFL and have success. I think Kirby could because of the way he handles his guys, and we'll get into that today. Also, Mike, you want to talk about Caden Ellis before we got out of here? What's up?
Yeah, a couple of guys bring up a couple of articles are written, Blogging Dirty, amongst others out there, had some articles saying, will Ian Cunningham use his connection to the Bears to perhaps pull off a trade? Tremaine Edmonds and Data had that in our packet today. It's stuff that we're looking at for the show. Is Caden Ellis, even though he's, getting to be over 30, a guy that's going to be hard to replace or will be? It sounded like from what Ian Cunningham said to the Steakhouse and to the media scrum at Indy, they feel it's a deep free agent class and market. So that's just something to think about because Caden Ellis, we already heard Jeff Ulbrich profess his love for what he means to the defense earlier in the week.
No, he did. Look, it is Ian Cunningham trying to gain a little bit more leverage in this situation. Look, I think they want Caden Ellis back. They don't want to overpay for Caden Ellis.
Right. Exactly.
That's where I think we're at. And I think overpaying guys, if you're going, what's overpaying? Overpaying would be like $12 to $15 million. Okay. Correct. If he's in the $10 million range, if you told me I could keep Caden Ellis for $2 million raise, sign him to a 2-year deal, you can make it 3. front load the money. Okay, this is how these contracts work. You're paying most of that in the first year, Mike. If you needed to move on, the cap hit goes down. Obviously, year 2, we'll see what the production is. But that's what I think. I don't think they want to move on from him. I think he's trying to leverage this so that he can have that contract where he wants it.
And give a shout out, Day to Caleb Johnson from 92.9 The Game. He put a video out there. It was the schematics of where Zach Branch from Georgia was catching his passes. And there was not enough vertical. Everything was there, which again, to me, I always felt Bobo didn't use him the right way. But if we want to, for instance, on a lot of mock drafts, he would be there when we pick at 48, if you feel that's a guy. But is he the vertical component? We know what he is yards after the catch, but it was kind of interesting to see schematically how Zach catches the ball and where he does, and it's really not down the field.
You know what, Mike? And I think you're right. That was part of the dysfunction of Georgia's offense. This whole thing about getting guys in space, the other thing you want to do with a guy like Zachariah Branch is challenge these corners down the field. Force them to have to cover. Force a safety to have to come over. They didn't do enough of that. And that's why you didn't see Gunner throw a lot of 50-yard balls down the field. It was always, we're going to get Zachariah the ball out here on the 5, 5-yard out, and let him work. I'm with you on that. So we'll see, man. I would take him, by the way. I would take him if he
I'll figure it out. I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Look at his route tree down the field.
If he was there. All right, man. Lots to get to today on the show. As we said, we'll chase in some other guests, but we'll have a lot of fun, man. Hope you're there at 2 o'clock. Appreciate you guys tuning in today for our pre-show. Big O's not here, but he'll be on the show with us today. Big Thursday, guys, on Dukes and Bell. Talk to you then.